Even if it doesn't have to do with this topic, they come into rooms and they disrupt because they don't have basic decency to like listen and then chime in when it's
well, and they're hateful. I mean, they're motivated by hate. So I say a dirty word, and when Keegan takes control of the room, I go back on mute. When Daniel says, "Okay, Zach, that's enough," I go back on mute. But I think that you guys.
I don't know if it's me, but you cut off. Anyways, continue, Keegan. Great room so far, by the way.
I'll reset the room here. BB is the GOAT. The reason why I'm saying this is we have to credit where credit's due, right? I thought Israel lost the hostage deal, the peace negotiations, the ceasefire. I thought this was a bad deal for Israel. Looking now, a week, 2 weeks now after the fact, this has been a kind of a good deal right now, especially if they're talking about moving the Palestinians. If they're able to move them to Egypt or Jordan, and I get it. We don't want to. Jordan seems like not the right option. Egypt maybe if you give them enough incentives and money and they're able to allocate it correctly and properly. But if this can all work out and Netanyahu can do this peacefully with a peaceful transition, he might go down as one of the greatest wartime presidents.
Peace in the Middle East. Peace in
the Middle East.
So I agree with like a lot of what you said, but to be honest, even though like the deal that was made with the hostages seemed like it wasn't a great deal, probably because the Jews usually do win the trade or win the deal, and they didn't necessarily win this. It's honestly, it was like you can't measure the impact and just the hostages getting back to their families and seeing the reunions and the hugs and the just like happiness that these families got from seeing the hostages. So even though thousands of prisoners were released, to be honest, like my main thing was like get the hostages home. And so the fact that they got that done, like I can't say it was a bad deal because that to me was priority number one.
And you have this Hamas thing that is in Gaza, but I think that what a lot of people that are pro-Palestinians, that are supporting Hamas, they miss is that Hamas is a terror organization, and Gaza is in rubble. I mean, you can say, oh, who caused this, or all this bullshit, but the fact is still that it's in rubble. And Hamas, as a terror organization, is unable to now feed 2.whatever million people. Also, I don't see any country, even Qatar and those countries, that will put a cent into Gaza while Hamas is there, knowing that every penny that they put will be destroyed within, a decade or two. So at some point, Hamas will have to, even without us asking it, even us not being part of it, Hamas will have to leave Gaza or leave the government of Gaza. The PA, said that they will not agree. That basically Hamas wanted to kind of do this Hezbollah format, meaning that they will not be in the government, but they will still keep the military. But the PA said no, this is not going to happen. Either we do everything or nothing. I'm not sure that the PA is such a great idea, but in order for Gaza to be rebuilt, Hamas cannot be there, and I don't think that Israel needs to push it. I think just reality will kind of.
Exactly. I think just time. Time will allow this to become, which is again, I think a testament to Netanyahu of like almost patience. Like everyone's been like so aggressive with this war of like this is what he needs to do, this is what he needs to do. Glass Gaza, right? This was a saying by a few people, and I think the patience that Netanyahu has shown, because he could have. I mean, he truly they had the military capabilities to just end this war so quickly, but I think that the way that he's done it, and again, especially if they're able to resolve this issue by moving the Palestinians to a new country without conflict. I mean, this is. I don't think we've ever seen something like this
before.
Level. This would be
next level.
This is next level. This would be next level. This is. This is what the GOAT is. This is what the greatest of all time would do.
But I think the mistake that was done very early on in the war, that the war was declared against Hamas. And I think this is a lie that we told ourselves, first of all, and then we told to the world. And I think that was a mistake on our part. The war was not against Hamas. It doesn't exist. Gaza launched the war, not Hamas. On 7th of October already, we saw Hamas, we saw PIJ. Already now we have hostages that are by different factions. We see their funerals. Some of them have Al-Qaeda banners. Some of them have Hamas. Some of them have ISIS. Like all kinds of factions, including civilians that are part of it. The war is between Israel and Gaza. And I think that we kind of shot our own leg when we declared that against Hamas, because then they expected us to only fight Hamas, and that is just not realistic. And I think that was a mistake that we did.
Yeah, and to comment of saying releasing thousands of Arab terrorists like Hamas into Egypt, I don't believe those people will be released. I believe that they're going to negotiate, and I could see maybe the U.S. gets involved through maybe more financial support, or maybe even through military support, right? But I do think that there are more Hamas members, maybe even the ones who've already been released, will be back to re-prisoned or even just killed. But I'm saying that for the majority part, I think that the main war is over. I think Netanyahu is going to do this with mostly non-conflict to civilians, and most of those civilians are just going to be.
And I hope that Trump will pressure the UN, and he has the dollars to do this. First of all, to defund UNRWA and to kind of punch back the UN back into to stop supporting terrorism. And what we see is that the UN is completely complicit, and all those humanitarian organizations, from the Red Cross to UNRWA to whatever, they're all complicit. And it's time that UN will start abiding by their own resolution. There is a resolution called 1373 discussing terrorism and the request to combat terrorism, and they do nothing. Not only do they do nothing, they actually assist. I just heard that there are like 30 countries that are now demanding from the European Union that UNRWA would be cut off the UN. Finally, after the last hostage said that she was held in an UNRWA facility. I mean, how many more evidence do we need to have that UNRWA is Hamas? And the way that Hamas can operate is with money. With no money, they cannot operate. And UNRWA was the way that they were able to launder a lot of money. Now that we closed the Philadelphia corridor for imports, this is something that Trump can definitely do to pressure Hamas.
Understood. They mean their history. They're not going to be allowed to operate either. I mean, that is a non-issue, at least.
Wait, whose history, Ian? I missed that.
UNRWA. UNRWA's history. I mean, Hamas is going to be history. It's there's nothing to really discuss here with everything that's gone on in the last year and a half.
But it's not just UNRWA. I mean, the UN has like the special rapporteur, and they have like even the UN Secretary General. They are all complicit in a way. And I don't know how much of the UN is funded by the United States, but I would assume a big portion is funded by the United States.
But the UN is a cesspool. It's been a cesspool.
Exactly. It's time to clean it up.
Yeah. So
we gave them
cares what they have to say.
We give them billions to refurbish the headquarters in New York. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, not only the facilities in New York, but I'm sure that a lot of the funding, the majority of the funding is coming from the United States, and then probably Germany and some European countries. But the United States definitely can start pushing back. Otherwise the ICC, the ICJ, all those corrupt organizations, they need to kind of snap back to reality. You cannot have that democracies would have the same vote as, Uganda and whatever. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, all you really need to look at is who's on the human rights committees in the UN.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia.
Other stuff. Yeah, I mean, it is such a joke that this is what they do. And I mean, the one thing, there's a lot you could like about Trump, a lot you could hate about Trump. but the guy is a straight shooter. I mean, he sees the BS for what it is, and he's, you know, and he's not going to tolerate any nonsense. I mean,
Did he say anything? Because I didn't hear him say anything about the UN in particular. This may be my wishful thinking or hopeful that he will do something, but I never, and maybe I missed, but did he say anything about reforming the UN or anything?
he has no respect for the UN. I mean, he's,
But
you
did he
know,
make any
Yeah, like after
Any
he came
declaration?
out, he pulled the U.S. out of the WHO. It's only a matter of time before he has something to say.
yeah, and I mean, and he also, I mean, he's going to laugh at the ICC and the ICJ, you know, based on how they operated also over the last year and a half. I mean, take my word for it. It's a non-issue. I mean, things are going to be changing significantly in the near future.
Is it a wishful thinking, or is it something that I mean,
No.
I have the same thought as you? I'm
Look
just
what he did with NATO, right? Like he threatened these NATO countries saying, "You better pay your share, or else we're pulling
Well,
out." And all of a
yeah,
sudden,
I mean,
they started
for
paying
NATO.
their share.
For NATO.
For NATO,
The NATO countries, yeah, they don't donate to their own defense. And I mean, he saw that, you know, for the BS that it was. And it's just like, you know, he was right about that. But even the whole thing with the UN, what has the UN accomplished? I don't know, over the last 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, what the hell have they actually accomplished? I mean, nothing. Nothing. You know, they're a joke. And, you know, as I said, he's no nonsense with this. And everybody that I see has gotten to his administration.
What I would give to the
also
UN,
nonsense.
what I would give to the UN is it does give a platform for people to talk behind the scenes. Like, forget about like the General Assembly, but there's a lot of meetings that happens in like restaurants and hotel rooms
Sure.
with different countries. I think that's a good thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, but the UN in general, it doesn't really have, you know, and let me tell you, I would love to see them leave the U.S. I mean, do you have any idea how valuable that land is right there in New York City, right there by the water? I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. And I'm just telling you, things are going to significantly change. He's made it. This is his mandate. I mean, the pro-Palestinian side is not going to be happy how things are going to be in the next 1 to 2 years.
Well, I don't think they're going to leave because it was maybe like 6 years ago where the UN was like, we need to find newer digs, right? This building is too old, and that's when we gave them a lot of money to stay in New York and to refurbish the building. So I doubt they're going to leave at this point.
pro-Palestinian is just pro-Palestinian is just euphemism for anti-West.
He's not going to tolerate that on U.S. soil. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm seeing how he's acted in under 2 weeks, and you know he's made it abundantly clear, you know, where his mandate's going to be. And I mean, for the pro-Palestinian side, it's not going to be pretty. It's the same thing. The stuff that you saw on the college campuses, that shit's over.
Yeah, he said. Did you guys see that? I forget what college it was, but this Chinese immigrant, Chinese student, who was like, she was like, you know, one of the people who were like, you know, spearheading these protests. He shipped her back.
Yeah.
Well. Diogenes.
Diogenes, be careful in here, Diogenes. I am kicking, so be careful.
Oh, I'm not afraid of you, Keegan.
Keegan, are you threatening Diogenes? Are you threatening Diogenes?
I'm not trying to threaten Diogenes. This is a pro-Israel room here, Diogenes.
Oh, what are we? Oh, good. Well, I mean, I'm happy to be a part of a pro-Israel room because I absolutely am pro-Israel being nuked into orbit. Yeah.
All right, Diogenes. It was good hearing from Diogenes. We love Diogenes.
And they call us genocidal, you see? This is amazing.
Is he allowed to say that?
I kicked him.
He got kicked already.
No, but I'm
But
saying,
those
is
are
he
the people
allowed to
that
say that in America? Don't you get deported when you say that now?
Hey, he's being honest.
Well, he's
You
an
want him
American
to be honest.
citizen, so he's not going to get deported.
Yeah. You're
Those are the people that are
You
trying genocide.
can't deport somebody who's an American citizen.
I thought Trump was fixing that.
Well, if you're an American
illegal,
citizen,
yes.
you can say whatever you want.
But not the citizens.
Yeah, the American citizens can say or think or do whatever they want. The ones that are coming from overseas, that's a different ballgame.
No, you can go to. You can be prosecuted if you like support terrorism and stuff like this. Not deported, but you can be prosecuted.
Even Venezuela was like, no, we don't want our people back, and eventually they caved. Trump was like, Venezuela's taking back.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I'm saying. I mean, he's going no nonsense. I mean, you know, look, even a 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada. And I see they're looking to fight back, but they're going to cave within a month. There's no way
they have to, yeah.
Yep, they
can't
have to.
sustain it. We can sustain it.
We could easily sustain it. It's not if you look at the size of the economies going against each other, I mean, it's like a cannon going against a pea shooter. You know, I mean, it's an absolute joke that they think they could even fight this. I mean, what do they have? I mean, outside of energy, what does Canada have?
Canola oil. They have
maple
canola
syrup.
oil, which is bad for us.
And maple syrup, which is also bad for us.
No, maple syrup
Well,
is so
Vermont
good for
maple
us.
syrup
I
is
love
nice.
maple syrup.
Yeah, but it's all sugar. It's all pure
Yeah,
sugar.
we have our own maple syrup in the United States.
Yeah, and it's just
Vermont
as
maple
good.
syrup is excellent.
Yeah,
it's just as
with extra high fructose corn syrup.
Yes, you have to be careful.
I miss Aunt Jemima.
Oh, that's racist. That's racist.
Why is it? I don't think it was, and I've seen many people that said it wasn't. You know, like
It's not racist.
You can still get Aunt Jemima syrup. It just doesn't have the picture of the mammy on it.
Yeah, it doesn't taste the same that way.
I don't know.
Uncle Ben's.
Well, Uncle Ben's was another one. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, you know, what got me is, you know, black folks really didn't have an issue with it. It was always white liberals that had an issue with it.
Yeah, like the Redskins. Like, didn't the local tribes say, yeah, we love the Redskins?
It was the Native Americans that made their emblem, or that made that.
Yeah, it was like the white people. They're like, no, we can't have those. Meanwhile, the Native Americans like, yeah, we like it.
Yeah, and I you know, it's funny when I was watching the AFC Championship game. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs. You heard the war cry that was going on in the stadium.
Yeah.
So it's just like
They're
you're
not
not
supposed
going
to
to
do
stop
that
that.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
The chop, right? They do the chop.
Yes. Yeah, the tomahawk chop. I mean, but you know, the thing is, they're not going to stop. You know, and what are you going to do? You're going to rename the Chicago Blackhawks, Golden State Warriors, I mean, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Ian, tell me some more things that Trump's going to do. So because you're making me feel better, like safer or something when you're saying all that stuff. I was like, oh, okay.
No, as I said, I just looked at what he's done within the first 2 weeks after 4 years of, you know, doing nothing. And he's just making it abundantly clear. I mean, he's going no nonsense. He does not care who he offends. He does not care whose feelings he hurts. He's just going to do what he thinks is going to be the right thing, and that's going to be a case closed. Because as I said, I mean, when I saw that he even put a tariff on China, which America was afraid to do that because of, you know, the size of their economy and all that, he just doesn't give a damn. And I think ultimately he's going to win this. You know, if you look at the size of the U.S. economy and how it grows and how it innovates and everything, these countries do not stand a chance. They really don't. You know, so as I said, I just have a feeling in the next year or two, you're going to see a massive change across the board. Does that make you feel better?
Yeah, I hope you're right. Thank you. Thank
know
you,
I'm-
Daddy. Thank you.
I know I'm right. Seriously, I mean, if you listen to, you know, what's come out of Washington in the last 2 weeks, I mean, where has he even been willing to take a step back? I haven't seen it.
Ian, I like your arguing and debate tactics in that one guy's room. Amish, or whatever his name is.
Oh, Amir, yeah.
I'm always in the audience listening, and you hold your own. Sometimes you're the only one. It's 10 against 1. But you did a job.
No, it's entertaining. I mean, I know these guys are butthurt and stuff like that. They're completely unrealistic. They don't. It's amazing how they come up with that's the best way I could put it. The theories that they're coming up with.
It's a lot of a what about them. Like you say something like, what about this? What about this? How about you answer the question I just asked you?
Yeah.
I don't want to answer those questions. Yeah.
No, they don't. No, they don't. And I mean, I forget who that. There's one guy in Edward. I mean, he's a
Edward, yeah, the guy that was like calling out your real estate stuff, right? Or something like that.
Oh, you were in for that.
Yeah, I was listening. I was in the audience. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I was like, how dare you? And you're a crook, or whatever he said.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's just like, somebody like that watches a movie like The Big Short, then they think they're a complete expert on what happened on Wall Street 2008, and it's just like, no, it was way more complicated than that. Yeah, that was definitely entertaining. That was entertaining. I mean,
that was entertaining for me. Like just listening in the audience was entertaining.
Well, I mean, look, just to make a quick summary here, you had more than enough players that were responsible for what ultimately happened. And you have to know each player's, role in this thing. And I mean, and he does it. I mean, he's a bean counter from West Hartford, so how the hell would he know this stuff? The biggest issue I had with him was when he's like, you use Scott Ritter as a legitimate source. Like, you serious?
Bean counters from West Hartford get the research stuff. I don't know the quality of his research, but I don't put it past anyone to learn anything. There are polymaths.
Is it true? Like he was trying to say that West Hartford is a high Jewish population. Is that true?
Yes, where my wife grew up. It has a lot of.
But there's a lot of Jews in a lot of different areas. I mean, let me put it this way: you're going to be surprised to hear this, but there's a large Jewish population in Greenwich, Connecticut, also. WASP capital USA. And that they're going all over the place. So
mostly Reformed Jews in Greenwich.
But also that's new. Like that hasn't been the case for a long time, like 30 years or what. Well, I don't know. My dad was in Westport, so that's something, but not Greenwich.
Yeah, well, Westport's one of the 4 boutique neighborhoods: Westport, New Canaan, Darien, and Greenwich. Yeah.
I live in Scarsdale.
That's very Jewish.
That's very Jewish.
That's very Jewish.
That's where my husband's from, so yeah.
Believe it or not, I moved to Darien, and I lived there for 25 years. That was definitely a
Whose husband is from Scarsdale?
What's that?
I wasn't looking at the phone. Whose husband is from Scarsdale?
Okay, he's not really Scarsdale. He's Eastchester. He will say that.
Yeah,
but it's Scarsdale address.
As a geographer, someone used to make maps. It should drive me nuts. Geographic information systems, because Scarsdale includes parts of Mamaroneck, parts of White Plains, parts of Eastchester, parts of Yonkers. It's like zip code should be aligned with taxing codes. So if you pay taxes in the village Scarsdale, that's 10583. Anything else should belong to the village you pay the taxes to. It's crazy.
That's why I prefer Connecticut.
Yeah, we used to live in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, which is really, oh my God, it's a long time ago. South, it's really Brookline, Massachusetts, but it had its own zip code because it was called it was a vanity zip code.
Yeah. No, as I said, that's the one thing I do like about, New England in general, but the zip codes do all line up. Because you're right about
Not always.
Well, it does that in Connecticut, I know that. I mean, I was in 06820, and we did not want to have any Stanford people go to our schools. I remember that.
So what was the whole point? How did we get into this whole zip code topic. It was about West Hartford and the guy saying that it was Jewish or not Jewish in West Hartford. Is that Keegan? Is that, or who brought that up?
I just got off the phone, so I don't know exactly what you guys are on, but I'm listening.
No, it was a argument. He was, I mean, essentially the guy is his name's third word. I know he's running up to Palestinian or not.
It's Palestinian.
He is Palestinian, and he was making. He always, I just say he talks well, and can put together what sounds like a well thought out argument, but it's usually smoke and mirrors, and it doesn't really take much to tear the thing apart. I mean, just one example, he was using Scott Ritter as his as his source, this expert source. And the one thing I said is it's like I've listened to Scott Ritter like over the last year and a half, ever since October 7th. And he has said the same thing in every video he has ever produced. I think, so how could you use him as an objective and legitimate source? Besides that, he's been disgraced. So he's known as Putin's puppet, and yet you think he's legitimate. And they will try to turn that around. Well, what can you disprove? So you start disproving what he says, and then he said, well, he's from East Hartford. You have a lot of Jews in East Hartford, but I think you had a lot of Jews everywhere.
East Hartford is East Hartford even a place?
Yes, but
But it's not a lot of Jews.
no, I don't. Not in East Hartford.
West Hartford, definitely.
West Hartford, then, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm in Fairfield County, so I don't really, associate much up there. But as I said, that's what got on that topic. And then he was trying to say I was a crook because I was in the mortgage securities market back, during the 2008 crisis. But it was, let's just say, a lot of what he was saying, it was pretty clear that he watched a single movie and he thought he was an absolute expert.
Well, I'll reset the room here. So again, I made this note. I haven't really been the best pro-Israel guy. As some of you guys know, beyond the app. But what Netanyahu is doing right now is very commendable. I can see this as a very it's phenomenal negotiation tactics. It's if this can end up again with a peaceful transition post-war, with Israel gaining all the hostages, Hamas fully defeated, and the Palestinians move to a new region that actually has the same culture as them, which is, again, an Arab/Muslim culture, Islamic culture is something I don't agree with whatsoever. But I mean, this seems like this is a good win. If they're able to move to Egypt or Jordan or wherever, and Benjamin Netanyahu is able to regain control of peace in the Middle East, and this is a good way to do it. So good on him. Go ahead.
No, I think it's a fallacy to think that any fraction of 2.1 million people are going to just be moved to another place. I think that's a dreamland. To be honest, the optics of it are terrible. They have got to deal in real politics and with the situation on the ground and to figure out how to make the best of the current situation. They're not going to move anybody anywhere. And the last thing you want to do is destabilize Jordan. Just remember Black September. Jordan's history with Palestinians is not fun. The Semites barely hold control of that country. God forbid something happens and that gets destabilized, it becomes radicalized. Well, then Saudi Arabia is next. It's like remember we used to talk about the domino effects of in the Warsaw Pact right after World War II. The same thing could happen, and I think the last thing the West wants to do is to destabilize Jordan.
Jaco,
And I don't see them moving to the Sinai.
and I do agree that moving, you know, 2+ million people is most likely not the case. But I do think that if they offered a form of sanctuary in the form of Egypt or in the form of Jordan, I think they probably could get at least 30%. You know, if not maybe a little bit more possibly.
Okay, I'll put $10,000 down now on a bet. If you want to take that bet, what was the percentage you said?
25, 30%.
Okay, so 2.1, 10% is 210,000, 30% is 640,000 approximately. Let's all call it 630. Do you think 630,000 people are going to move someplace with incentives? I'm willing to wager you that it's not going to happen in our lifetime.
So what?
As much as I would love to see it happen, look, listen, don't get me wrong. As much as I would love to see it happen, I don't see the world permitting it. It would just, the optics of it are just terrible.
So what is the end goal then for Trump and Netanyahu? Because I mean, it does seem like
they've got to figure out how to get an administration in Gaza that doesn't, and I don't have the answer. It's so incredibly difficult to even think about this. But they got to get Hamas out of power. They were not able to do it militarily, unfortunately. They did the best they could, but they got to figure out how to.
Yaakov, because it will happen by itself because Hamas, as a terror organization, is unequipped to rebuild Gaza and feed 2.3 million people, and also no government on earth will give them a cent while they're still in the government. So we don't need to do. We just need to.
Right. So the game plan is to put together a series of donors and a series of countries, a group of countries that are willing to say, okay, we're going to reconstitute the government. Here are the players on the ground. These are the people that are accountable, that will put places to make sure that greed and graft and people skimming 10, 20, 30% or 90% off the top doesn't happen again. And it will be rebuilt in its place. And unfortunately, the Palestinians are going to have to live in tents or on the ground or whatever, because that's they backed Hamas, and that's the result of it. But it's going to have to be rebuilt around them while they're there. How that happens, I have no idea. But it's going to have to be done with the support of a multinational coalition. It's going to be the biggest thing since the Marshall Plan in terms, post-World War II.
Does this happen, do you believe, under Trump's administration, or do you think that this is most likely?
If I can wait 4 years, yeah, it's definitely going to happen under Trump's administration.
Because I believe that
it's in Israel's best interest to have this happen as soon as possible, right, Daniel? I mean, you don't want to have this unknown condition and this hostile entity, still existing for any period of time. Too much resources are tied up in managing this. The country's got to get back to its, pre-war economy.
Yeah, I feel like the only way to do this is when there is a pro-Israel president in administration in the U.S. I think that the full backing of the U.S. Is again the strong way to do it. So I mean, this is without a doubt we are at the worst part of the war is over, and now it's kind of collecting all the pieces and just figuring out how can we put this back together. The best way for Israel.
I mean, the ultimate goal would there was a report, and I haven't been able to find it, but I remember reading it in September of 2023 that the Saudis had put together a proposal, working with the U.S. And I think Israel, to let them become the custodians of the Temple Mount and the custodians of Judea and Samaria, get rid of the PA, reconstitute it with the government, and fund it and put in sort of, quote, a technocratic regime, as opposed to one that's, just focused on terror.
Yaakov?
Yeah,
The
that's to
PA?
be removed. Yes.
To be removed. I thought to be instated.
No. They were so pissed that 1/5 of their budget was paid to Slay. They honestly thought that was a complete waste of money. And the graft and corruption that's happening in the PA. If you can tie the two together, if Saudi Arabia last week announced it was going to invest $1 trillion in the U.S., well, they can invest another $1 trillion in the West Bank and Gaza. I mean, that's a start. And then you include the Gulf states and include other donors. It's not undoable, And I would love to see the two tied together to create one political entity that's going to govern from a point of view of we're going to achieve a state not through terror, but achieve a state through building up a government and working side by side with Israel. I mean, then I think the whole situation on the ground changes. But it's a dream world. I know I'm living in a dream world, but.
Gigi, do you know that you're filming a video?
Someone's got an open mic.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
It's not Yaakov this time.
Come on, Daniel. You know me too well.
But yeah, this is very interesting. I'm very excited because I think that no, all war is bad. I think that's such a typical thing that you can say, but beginning of the war between Israel and Palestine, I was very, very just anti-war, and now kind of looking back, I'm like, I think that Israel, they've done the right things, and they continue to do the right things, and people thought they lost the deal between hostages, and I think looking back, I'm like, I don't know if they really lost the deal, but rather gave their country like a morale booster, right? Like this was, this war's been long and tiring, and they needed something to prove that that this was a positive, that there are positives to this. So I think that at the end of the day, this has been a good thing. So. What a nice room.
This was an amazing room, Keegan. I'm so glad that you opened it. And to everyone who came in and contributed, appreciate it. And it was just nice to see that, the group of people who came in and disrupted and wouldn't listen to the mod were all on one side.
They were all on one side. I did also notice that, Rick. The ones who couldn't engage, who couldn't engage, I guess, respectfully. Respectfully is a good word. So, yeah, that was proven in this room, Rick. That was.
So yeah, this was a good hour. I don't know if you gotta go, but appreciate you, Keegan.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate everyone here. Appreciate the room, Daniel, Yaakov, Ian, giving the insights of people who are. Daniel's in the inside. It feels like been there for last 2 years. So appreciate everyone, and listen, you guys enjoy the clubhouse streets. I probably will see you there. So,
Thank you, Keegan.
See you guys.
standardization, right? I think that's a problem.
There can't be a standard, Matt, because as soon as you try to standardize that, you would have put it into writing that you were literally incompetent, that you were literally going to intentionally employ individuals in a capacity they were not suited to. So it can't be codified. It has to remain ephemeral. It has to remain an idea that what we essentially want to do is maintain these exclusive truths that are mutually exclusive, that we can have individuals who are not serving as air traffic controllers because they're being systemically discriminated against, but they're also eminently qualified to serve as air traffic controllers. Now, those things are not true.
Right.
Because by and large, we have a very meritocratic profit. I mean, I would say, without a doubt, it's a profit-driven economy. There are definitely protectionist rackets taking place with the aid of government intervention. But by and large, these companies are going to do whatever is the most profitable. And that means bringing in illegal aliens in complete and reckless disregard for federal immigration laws, etc. They're going to do it because it's profitable. So
Here's where I see it on the spectrum as what I identify myself as a moderate Jew, right? How this relates. I see DEI on the far left, the extreme far left, as the campus encampment, knuckleheads at best, right? Anti-Semitic, domestic terrorists at worst, right? Using, the undermining pinnings of DEI to establish this me versus the oppressor mentality, right? I think you may agree with that thought, right? And
so
on the
you
other
were in the United States of America, Matt?
Yeah.
Were you born in the United States of America?
I was.
Okay. Do you consider yourself loyal first and foremost to the United States of America or to the state of Israel?
America.
Okay.
You should say Israel, bro, because I'm an Israeli myself. You're
cool.
a traitor.
So on the far left, right? One could say DEI is right. That's the under the underbelly of why this stupidity and right is taking place, right? On a much less mild.
Wait.
Right.
I want to. This is an important distinction to make here. Is the larger malaise present in our society, in our culture, in our nation, is not diversity, equity, inclusion. DEI is simply a tool that was utilized to perpetuate the money laundering and the
It goes deeper than that. It's going to blow your mind. It goes deeper than that. There's this method. It really, if you take it as